Welcome back, everybody, to the JOSBSN on the Jacko the Soccer Bro YouTube channel. It is the final week of the regular season for your Sandy Nanners here as they face off up against Sugar and Spikes, a team that they happened to 3-0 earlier on this year as they get off to a good start there, with Colin being the first man up to serve for the Sandy Nanners, rocking the cutoff this week in his final week in the Sandy Nanner jersey. That one's going to fly out of bounds there, 1-1. The Sandy Nanners are rocking with a 5-person squad tonight. We will meet them in a second here. Colin was just serving. Jada is in the blue in the middle. Max in the back left. Caleb in the front left now, and Jack over in the front right. Let's see how they can perform with 5 players. We saw last time earlier on in the season when they only had 5. They certainly did not perform up to their standard. Let's see if they can turn that around this time here, as that's going to almost be a point, and there it falls. That will be a point for the Sandy Nanners. Their Wild Bill, as the name on the back of his shirt says, calls himself for a lift. Not like it mattered because the ball didn't make it over the net anyway, but it'll be 2-1 to start the game early off now, as Jack is up to serve for the Sandy Nanners here. Hard into the middle. And that was going to get sent over for Max, who's just going to tap that one down nice and politely. Nothing too special about that one from him. A good little tap down into the sand to secure the point. And now it has been quite some time since you've seen a Sandy Nanner video out on this channel. And that is because me, your broadcaster, Jacko, up in the Jack with a Soccer Bro booth up here, has been on vacation. I've been having a lovely time out here, so everything's a week later than normal. That's fine. It is what it is. The tournament is going to be out next week, you guys. We will see how the Sandy Nanners performed in that one in the next week's video. 2 videos, actually. It's going to be a 2-parter because so much volleyball was played that day, I couldn't possibly fit it into one self-respecting length video. As Jack hits that one straight over the net, and he manages to get back up on his feet before the ball hits him. And this time it's going to go over to Jack once again, and this touch is going to be wayward. Colin with no shot of getting that one, tying the game up at 3 apiece here as the Sugar and Spikes get a point. And yeah, the big hope from this one for the Sandy Nanners is just basically that they can perform better than they had in the week prior when they were running with 5 people, as that one from Jada is going to hit into the net. And that will be, I think, that's the first lead for Sugar and Spikes so far. I haven't been paying attention to the score too closely because it's early on. This game will be going up to 21 here. Jada with a perfect set for Max, who kills that one down brilliantly. And the ball hits the camera. Great play from the Sandy Nanners. I don't know who got the first touch on there, but that set from Jada to set Max up was perfect. Couldn't ask for much more. As a spectator up here in the booth, where I'm at. Wow. Step away from commentating for a little bit of time, and all of a sudden you forget how to speak English. Actually, I never knew how to speak English in the first place, so maybe some time away was needed, as Colin's going to be just long on his attempt here. After this game, we will be able to determine the seeding for the Sandy Nanners heading into the tournament to see just how their season has really stacked up against the competition here. And as you will notice, the court to the left side from this point of view here is empty as Caleb scrambles over to get that ball over to Max. Colin goes straight over with it, and that point will fall to tie the game up once again here, giving Caleb a chance to serve for the Sandy Nanners. A bit of a strong suit of his, as you will see later on. Actually, you've already seen it in the one cameo that Caleb has had earlier on. But like I was saying, the court over on the other side is empty because I'm not sure how well you can tell here, but it has been at least quite the rainy day in Wisconsin where your Nanners are playing currently. So games were called off, but these 2 teams were already at the location and they wanted to play some volleyball, so you gotta respect them for that here. And that one's going to fall just short of Jack. He doesn't really make too much of an effort to get to that ball, but yes, it is a wet and wild one out in Wisconsin, as the clouds and the dark color of the sand, and eventually there's going to be rain flying across your screen left, right, and center here come game 2. Jada does well to get to that ball. Can Caleb recover? Yes, he can. Jada has to go over, and she does. Plenty of time to get under that ball. The set is up, and it's going to go straight over to Jada, to Colin. Colin sets up Max on the other side, and that's going to be a point for the Sandy Nanners. A well-worked routine there from Jada to Colin to Max. Colin with a one-handed set there, I might add. An interesting bit of technique from him, but it certainly did the job. Gave Max ample opportunity to kill that ball and give the Sandy Nanners a lead once again in this one. Short ball straight over the net here, and a bit of a scramble to get to that one from the second hit, and it's going to fall into the net and be another Sandy Nanner point here. And since no other teams are playing today, and these two teams are, if the Sandy Nanners can pull out the 4 points that they would get from a 3-0 victory, that could be crucial in determining their seeding here. If they lose, well, 0 points is 0 points. If they win 1 game, that's 1 point. If they win two out of the 3 points, then that one's going to be 3 points, I do believe. That ball was caught because 3 men on the Sandy Nanner team hit it. And as the league rules state, a woman has to touch the ball if the team will use all 3 hits on the side. This serve's going to go over to Max, over to Jada, to Colin, who has to adjust to get to that ball. Does well to get it over in the first place. And Jack has a chance on this one. He had to move a little bit more to get to that one. This time he gets a better attempt on the ball after Jada's set, and it will land into the sand for a Sandy Nanner point there, 9-7, as Colin is already back up to serve once again for the Nanners. That's part of running with a 5-man squad. The serving rotation will move swiftly. Church gets plenty of time to get under that ball, and Jack hits it up onto the net and over. Church pushes it over. Colin gets a touch to that one, and Jack is just not able to send it over after Jada's touch went into the net there. I'm not sure how legal Colin's touch was in the first place there, but the point will fall to Sugar and Spikes regardless here. This one's going to get served over to Caleb in the middle, up to Jack in the middle, and what was that attempt? It went for some goofy, two-handed slap down WWE, I don't know what you want to call it, into the net, and it clearly didn't work. This serve is going to fly out of bounds here to reestablish the lead for the Sandy Nanners. Now, I'm not sure if you have noticed just yet, but since the Sandy Nanners are running with only Jada as a woman on the squad tonight, they are doing a little bit of a rotational play here. As you can see on the serve there, Jack serves it up, and Max and Jada swap, trying to just get Jada into the middle so she can be the second touch or the first touch for the Sandy Nanners. Either one of the two is the desired result of doing this little swap here. Watch, it goes right there, and boom, Jada's in the middle, Max is in the corner there. As the visor is coming off now. Jada means business now in this one. The jacket's off, the visor's off, and the score is 12-9. The Sandy Nanners starting to build a respectable, small little lead here as Jack is up to serve once again here. A hard serve into the back row. Well recovered there. Plenty of time, and the third hit goes over. Jack goes up in the middle. Jada has to move to get there. Does well. Max just bumps it over. Gets hit straight back over in one hit. Jada goes to Caleb this time. Caleb smacks that thing hard, but it is well recovered. Colin this time's equal to it. Over to Jada. Back again to Caleb. He slaps it down, and it's going to fall into the inbounds part of the sand. A great spot in the backcourt from him, and that is exactly what the Sandy Nanners are wanting to do in this one. Using their hits well despite the lack of numbers, getting Jada extremely involved. She is going to have a very busy night for the Sandy Nanners, and 13-9 now is the score with Jack still up to serve in this one here. Give it a second, let every single member on the Sandy Nanners, Sugar and Spike squad get into the court here. And we are once again underway. Another hard serve into the same spot as the last one. And this time, the Sugar and Spike squad cannot recover it. QB1, what a toss there from him. I don't know his name, unfortunately, or what he goes by on the volleyball court. But it is a 5-point Sandy Nanner lead. Jack goes up to serve, this time going to the left side of the court, and a point will land regardless. A little bit of a run now from the Sandy Nanners and Jack on the serve here, which is something that we haven't seen too uncommonly throughout the season here. When he gets up to serve and when he's hot, he lands those things. He puts some meat behind him, and they are quite tough to return. But quite exactly to the contrary, when he's cold, he is cold. He can't land a serve over the net for the entire night. So, and it appears that the good serving side of Jack is out here. That one's going to hit over the net and just fall over. A tough one to get to there by any member of the Sugar and Spike squad. And all of a sudden, the Sandy Nanners now are 5 points away from victory here, 16-9 in this one. A very strong performance here. This serve from Jack is once again going to be hard over the net, targeting that left side, and the point will fall once again. The Sandy Nanners are quite close to victory here, which is exactly what they wanted, especially considering no other teams are playing here. And that point will fall again. It's 18-9, double or nothing right now, 9-18. And yes, as I've been saying, I'm going to keep saying this because these points tonight are crucial potentially for the tournament seeding, because we don't know how well the other teams have performed. I personally have not been watching them play night in, night out. I have no way of checking the standings after each week. So a potential 4 free points here, or as of right now, a minimum of 1 point, unless the Sandy Nanners manage to collapse in an abysmal fashion here and give up 11 or 12 points in a row here. This is finally a serve gets returned. Jade is there equal to it, and Jack gets caught up on the line there. I don't know if he tripped on that thing or just took a little hezzy stutter step and didn't get to that ball. Regardless, the point will fall for Sugar and Spikes here on that one. But it is still a 9-point game between the two, and the Sandy Nanners do only need 2 points to win here. Underhand serve over to Max. Max gets it over to Jada, and Jada just goes straight over the net with it. Nice, safe play there from her. Over the net in two from the Sugar and Spike squad now. Up again, Jada to Caleb. Caleb goes for a dinky little tip, and it will land. That's not how the Sandy Nanners traditionally like to play, but when you're Caleb and you are a little bit more vertically challenged compared to the rest of the Sandy Nanner members, that's what you got to do to land a point. And with Jada up to serve, you have to feel like a win is almost guaranteed now for the Nanners. I spoke too soon. But then again, just about every single member that is playing for the Sandy Nanners tonight is a very potent server on their day. When Max gets that overhand going, it is cooking. He just sticks to the underhand for safety reasons. Safety for the net and the opponents at the same time. Colin's got a bit of a jump serve. Caleb, we haven't seen too much of him yet today, but in the week prior, he was lethal with that jump serve of his. And that was going to find the line from the man in the grayish, I want to say, shirt there. And that serve's going to fly out of bounds. Unfortunately, they could not build anything off of that one, and game one will go to the Sandy Nanners here. So let's see how they can respond now in game two here. As the water is starting to fall from the sky, you can see it on the camera lens here. Jack goes to Jada. Jada goes straight over the net there. Colin has to scramble to get there, and he does. Free ball, and nobody. Jada had to be the person to get to it, or else it would have been 3 men to hit it, and she just simply couldn't make up the ground in time. And the first point of the match will fall to Sugar and Spikes here in this one. So that serve's going to fall into the net there. Max showing off his bunnies there in the back left. As, yes, Colin is up to serve here. Let's see what he can do this time. Haven't seen too much of him yet today. Haven't seen too much. Yeah, I really haven't. As that one, great serve from him, finding that shallow left-hand corner in a very tough spot to get to. As we can see the rain flying down from the left to the right here. Colin this time going far with it into the exact opposite corner of his first serve, and the point will fall just the same. 3-1 now, early on for the Sandy Nanners here. Sandy Nanners are certainly looking to build off of that game one performance there. Colin going for a jump serve here into the middle. Well recovered there, but a second touch just did not happen from any member of the Sugar and Spikes team here. Four free points. That's tough to say. 4 free points for, I can't say either one of these teams anymore, but for the Sandy Nanners as Colin pushes that thing over, and it's going to fly just out of bounds. Could be the difference at this point with how close some of these teams have been. Say between Team Eber, the Sandy Nanners, and Malik. That could be the difference between the 1 seed and the 3 seed. So this is a very important game for the Sandy Nanners here. They need every single point they can get, as that serve is going to be an ace from, I can't even tell who that was. Straight in between Jada and Colin now to bring it back to a 1-point game between these two here. This serve is going to fly over to Caleb. Caleb over to Jada. Jada switches it up for Jack. Jack gets a little touch on that one. It's not going to be enough. Jada does well to get to it. Jack goes over to Caleb. Not enough loft on that set. Max over to Jada this time. Jack once again, and this time his kill attempts are just not it today. Colin has to struggle to get there, and Jack's kick attempt is going to not help his teammates or himself whatsoever there. It certainly didn't help his teammates there. Colin getting sprayed in the face there by with sand, a lot of sand, way more sand than any person should be taken in the face that one time there. He is still trying to get that out of his eyes, mouth, every other part of your face you can imagine there, I'd assume, because that's just how sand works. Caleb sets it up for Jack this time, and the left-handed touch, it's gonna work. When the right isn't working, switch it up for the left and just see what happens now. 5-4 as the Sandy Nanners take another lead right back from the Sugar and Spikes team. Never really had the lead, but they tied it up at least. Jack now up to serve. I saw that up here in the booth. I saw that spot looking wide open. I wondered if he was going to target it, and he did. Just couldn't get it up over the net that time, and it is going to be a tie game here in this one. Serve is going to be up here over to Colin. Jada gets one hand on it. Caleb can almost recover. Hits the top of the net before falling back down into Sandy Nanners' hand. And the Sugar and Spikes team will get, I believe this is their second lead of the game after they had it early on from the first point in this one here. Serve is going to be up. A hard serve. Jack does well to get to it. Jada sets up Caleb brilliantly, and that's going to find the line and be a point for the Sandy Nanners there. Perfectly done. Perfectly done by Jada to recover that one, and then Caleb does well to land it over, tying up the game at 6s once again now. It's not 6s once again, but it's tied up once again. You know what I mean. I don't have to explain myself. Colin goes over to Caleb, and Caleb's going to find the net there and build the lead back up for the Sugar and Spikes squad here. Both these teams not really pulling away from each other in the early doors of this one. But like I said, it is the early going here. A lot can happen from now up until point number 21 for either one of these teams here. Jack doing a goofy little dance in the back, and the serve's going to target him, but it is going to fly out of bounds here. If you look at the flag in the background, you can see the wind is whipping from the right to the left here, and that just happened to be where that serve went out of bounds. As Caleb is up to serve here, take some notes here, everybody, as to how this guy does it, because this guy's serve just happens to mess people up here. Look at that. A nice spinning sky ball there, and it's going to get, this time it'll get recovered. Caleb with a good first touch on that ball. A little bit of a scramble in the back row here. Jada does well to get to that one. Jack sets it back over to Caleb after hit off of the net. The Sugar and Spikes team go over in 2. Jack sets it up high for Max. Max just has to bump it over. Nothing killable there from him. Well recovered there by those two. Colin gets it falling backwards, and Jack's touch just does not get enough air underneath the ball for Jada to be able to send it over. That whole set looked to be a bit of a scramble from the Sandy Nanners there between Colin, Jada, and Caleb in the back row, just kind of struggling to find their spots there for a second. And the lead was with the Sugar and Spikes team for a second, but now it's going to be tied up once again at 8 apiece here. Still a very close game in the early doors here. I'd say we're in the middle. We're mid game now. This one's gonna get hit over into. Jack goes to Jada. Jada switches it up for Colin. Colin goes quick with it. Slapped back over here. Jada once again goes up to Colin, and this time he'll get enough air underneath his legs to kill that thing down. That's the vintage Colin that we have been seeing on the Sandy Nanners team. As Max now is up to serve, he can potentially bolster this lead a little bit for the Sandy Nanners here. He goes for a sky ball of his own, and it's just not gonna get up over the net there. Our scoreboard has disappeared for a second there. It'll be back in a second, I do believe. Give us a minute here. That serve is going to fly just out of bounds. There we go, back again. I'm not sure what was up. There's some technical difficulties from here up in the booth. That'll happen, it's all right. The lead is still with the Sandy Nanners regardless, 10-9 in this one here. Colin goes up with it, and it's going to fly. Is that one out of bounds? Yes, it was out of bounds. That's 2 serves in a row, I do believe, from the Nanners that have been out of bounds. Certainly something that they would want to iron out before next week's tournament here. Colin has to scramble to get there, does well. Jack sends that thing over into the far side, and it will land into the inbounds part of the court, just targeting that back corner. And it's a Sandy Nanner lead once again now, 11-10, as Jack is up to serve. When he got up to serve at this stage of Game 2, he put on a show for the Sandy Nanners. Let's see if he can do it again and recover after that first serve of this game here. Another one hard over the net this time, and the point will fall. 12-10 now. That's the Jack we want to see from the line. That's why he's been the #1 starting server for the vast majority of the games this year. And this time it's going to fall short. I just stop talking whenever somebody from the Nanners is up to serve. Whenever I start complimenting them on their serving abilities, they always hit it into the net or out of bounds. Commentator's curse, that's how this was going to fly over to Colin. Colin over to Jada. Jada hits it into the net. Max can't recover it, and we're back up to a tie game here. 12-12 now. 1 point away from entering into the teens of this game and starting to get down to the wire here. It's been close. These two teams have not been able to separate each other whatsoever. Max gets a good touch, and that ball gets hit over in 2, but it's going to fly out of bounds now to give Jada a chance to serve for the Nanners. It is Jada? Yes, it is Jada to serve. I wasn't too sure. I forgot the rotation, I suppose. That's all right. 13-12, Jada up to the plate here in this one. I don't remember how she's been serving so far in this game. I know when I was saying something about her serving before, she hit one out of bounds. So I made the conscious choice not to that time, and Caleb will get up. Get up, big fella. Get that point down for the Sandy Nanners here. 14-12. Now, I gotta try to stop commenting on the serving abilities of my Nanner compatriots here, because whenever I do so, they serve it out of bounds. This time the serve will be in from Jada. Nice little 1-2 play there between those two. It's going to get hit over up to Caleb, and Caleb just sends that thing high, flying ball in the wind. That type of thing could be very potent against teams here. Max goes over into. This time they use all 3 hits over to Caleb. Caleb goes low with the bump this time. And the Sugar and Spikes team keeps going over into. Jada and Max having a little bit of a troublesome moment there, but the point will fall for. There's a bit of a debate going out on the court here. I'm not quite so sure how well you can hear that conversation here, but the point will be replayed here, and that's due to Jack calling time when one of his Nanner teammates had plenty of time to get to the ball. His soccer background here, and as Caleb's gonna land that point for the Sugar and Spikes team. He wasn't able to get to that ball, but Jack likes to call time whenever his teammates have plenty of time and space to get underneath it to send it over. It's something that I'm assuming he would have picked up from soccer, being called Jacko the Soccer Bro. You pass it to your teammate, you either say man or time or turn, something along those lines here, and that clearly just came out of his mouth there, and that might have messed up the Sugar and Spikes team, thinking that perhaps the timeout was being called on the court. Regardless, 14-13 is the score. That point was replayed here as Caleb's going to land that kill there. For being one of the shortest members of the squad, he sure can get up and win a duel at the net to rebuild a 2-point lead for the Sandy Nanners here, as he is already up to serve once again in this one. This time abandoning the sky ball approach, going for a jump serve, which it doesn't matter what serve he seems to go for. They both work just the same, as Jack's left hand is not strong enough after Max's set flies over his head there to give the point back to the Sandy. Give the point back to the Sandy Nanners. What am I saying? It gave the point back to the Sugar and Spikes team. And we are at a 1-point game. Colin has to jump up to that one. Jack's just going to send it over. And this time it gets, oh, Caleb. Wow, good dig to get that one out. And Max and Jack just kind of stand there and let that thing fall down between them in the middle to tie it up at 15 here. 6 points away from victory for either squad now. Something has to give here. One of these two teams needs to pull away from the other, because it has been a deadlock for the entirety of this game. Caleb gets height under that ball. Jaded as well to get there. And Jack is the guy to send that thing over. It's shallow, and that's going to be killed down by Bill there to give the Sugar and Spikes team their first lead in a little while, I do believe. But a lead is a lead regardless, and especially at this stage of the game, you do not want to be on the back foot here, needing 2 points to take a lead back for your team. As this serve is up, and it's going to fly out of bounds here, tying up the game once again with Max up to the serve here in this one. Up to the serve, yes. Let's go, everybody. Peak English. Jade will be back with that ball in just a second here. Hang on, everybody. As you can see, the rain droplets falling onto the lens now. The wind seemingly shifting directions now, going towards this side. Max's underhand serve to play it safe. It's going to get hit over into. Max goes up to Jada. Jada finds Colin, and Colin gets a touch over, sending it into the middle here. Tipped over into. That one's going to fall between Colin and Jada there to give the Sugar and Spikes team another lead in crunch time here. This is very close. These two teams, I know I've been saying this over and over again, but they have not been able to separate each other whatsoever, and that serve is going to fall short. Sandy Nanners capitalizing on 2 consecutive serving errors from the Sugar and Spikes team here. Let's see if they can capitalize on that and get some points of their own here as Colin is up to serve. He skips the jump this time, just does a straight up serve. Jack goes over to Caleb once again, and it's not going to have enough loft to it. The push goes over, but Max is more than equal to it. Jada goes up to Caleb, and Caleb off the net. It's going to get hit over. Bill gets a touch, but it's not going to be enough, and the lead will go back to the Sandy Nanners now with 3 points left to play in this one. Only 3 points. 1 point separating them, and 3 points to the win for the Sandy Nanners here. And there really isn't any member of the Nanner squad that I would not want serving the ball in this situation here today. Collins does well to get under that one, sends it up, and Bill goes over with it. And the Collins is not able to recover after his serve to get to that ball. A great spot, finding the gap in the 5-man formation there to tie the game up at 18. I believe now is a very appropriate time to mention the win by 2 rule in this one. If both teams are tied up at 21, somebody needs to win by 2. If both are tied at 20, the same thing applies. Jack twice at the net, and that time on the second attempt, the point will fall for him. 19-18 in this one here. Let's see if Jack can cook up some magic here in this one, like he has, or like he did in game 1, I should say. Game 2 has not been the most special. This serve is going to be up. I think the safety was on for that one, but it's going to have enough movement to it to fall down into the sand here, tricking out whoever was in the middle for the Sugar and Spike squad. And all of a sudden, the Nanners are 1 point away from victory here. With Jack up to serve here, let's see if he can cook up something once again. He needs to replicate that serve or something from game 1 here. And the weak, I should say, will fall towards the Sandy Nanners. He goes deep with it. Bill recovers. It's going to get sent up over for Max. And Max is going to hit it down into his own net. 20-19. The Sandy Nanners cannot afford to be making mistakes at this stage of the game here. Neither team can really. When you're this close to a win or a loss, any mistake is killer. It's going to go over to Jack. Jada is going to go far side to Max. Max gets up on it. It's going to get well recovered. Colin now to Jada. Jada goes to Max. Max gets some hit behind that one, and it's going to land into the sand just barely, finding a great patch where none of the Sugar and Spikes members were ready for that one. Great work from Jada in that game, especially Jada and then Max to win the game on that last point for the Sandy Nanners there, making up for his error on that last point. The rain is really starting to come down now in this one in game 3 as we get underway quite quickly here. Not much of a gap between the two games. Jada's going to send it over, hit straight back over to her once again. She goes straight back over with it. Caleb now to Jada. Jada goes straight back to him. Just going to send it into the back row here. It's going to get hit up over to Jack this time. Jack goes over to Jada. Jada's going to hit it up over with one hand. Jada keeping busy, and Colin is just not able to hit that thing over. A long first point he's set. First, whatever you want to call it, long first point there from either one of the two teams here. And the Sugar and the Spikes will win it there. Jada was very busy on that batch of points here. It is a very, very wet day now for all of these members. As you can see there from Jada, that wet ball is not the stickiest thing in the world. It is very slick. It's just going to fall straight between her hands there. Slippery. Very slippery. The serve is going to be up here. This time, Jada is going to get over to it. Caleb sends this thing up high for Jack. Jack gets a touch on it. It's going to get well recovered there by Bill. Jada is there to Colin. Colin goes over to Caleb. Caleb goes over the net with it. And that one's going to fall over. 3-0 now for Sugar and Spikes here. The Sandy Nanners are getting themselves in a rut early here. Maybe struggling to cope with the wet conditions. Maybe just not winning the points here. It's hard to say what's happening. But regardless, they need to bring it back here. And fast if they want to have a chance of this. Jada's going to miss that ball. 4-0. 4-0 as everybody on the court here is very wet indeed. Everybody on the other court is heading back over to shelter in this one. Max is going to be equal to it over to Caleb. Caleb is going to hit it up over into a despicable range. Colin does well to get to it, but Caleb simply can't get the second touch on there after it. And it's 5-0. We have not seen many runs bigger than 2 points here in these games, so a 5-point run from either squad here could be almost already the difference between winning and losing. This was going to get hit into the net. Jack does well to dig it out, and Jada sends that thing up and far over. Jack goes up for the block, doesn't get a touch on it, and I do believe a net was called there on Jack's block attempt. He did clatter that thing pretty roughly there, and all of a sudden it's 6-0. I say all of a sudden, but I've been commenting about just the deficit the Sandy Nanners have put themselves in early for the entirety of this matchup already. As Colin is going to do well to get that one there. Send it far over, and it's going to fall out of bounds. The Sugar and Spikes are already a third of the way to victory here. Sandy Nanners are putting themselves in a dire situation early on. Serve is going to be up here, and this time it's going to fall out of bounds here. Finally, the break that the Nanners needed here, and Jack is up to serve. Let's see if he can cook up something special here, which he, at this point, needs to to bring it back within really just winning distance. That one's going to fly out of bounds from him, and it's still a 7-point game in this one. I can't even say you ate to see it because it's 8-1. Jade is going to go over to Max with it. Max is going to fly. Oh, Max is going to fly over. Max is going to land the point. And now I can say you ate to see it with this one. 8-2 early on as Jada is up to serve here. But like I said, it is early on when we have seen greater comebacks happen from, I don't know about the Sandy Nanners, but we've seen it happen from teams in this league. So in conditions like this, you certainly can't count it out as the sun is already starting to peer through the clouds over there on the horizon. And that's another point, much needed point for the Sandy Nanners here as Jada is still up to serve. Let's see what she can do with her second serve in this one here. This is going to fly over into the middle. Now it's going to get hit up into the net once again from the Sugar and Spikes team, and it's a double or nothing game now, 4-8. But this time the double or nothing, the momentum is with the team that is being doubled, which you cannot say that all too often here. Jada up to serve once again, her exact same serve that she does over and over again, but works into the middle there. Nice high flying ball, and Max's touch is not going to be recoverable by any Sandy Nanner teammates here. 4-9 now as Jada's once again not going to be able to get to that one. A little bit of a miscommunication there between Max and Jada, and that ball certainly did have some movement on it in the air here. You can attribute that to the wind, just to the knuckle on the ball, whatever you want to call it. That was not an easy one to return by anybody here. And it is a 6-point game between the two teams, and that serve's going to fall just short to make it a double or nothing game once again here. This time the momentum is pretty neutral between these two teams. They're both looking quite cold right now, and not just because of how soaking wet they are, although that might be a little bit of a factor as Caleb is up to serve. His jump serve is back at it again. Well recovered there by the lady in the blue. Colin's going to send it not quite straight over. Jada will. And this touch is going to be into the net. And it's a 4-point game now. The Sandy Nanners might just be starting to bring it back here just a little bit here. 6-10 now. I've already said the score, but I'm going to say it again. It is 6-10. Did you hear that, everybody? The score is 6-10. The Sandy Nanners have 6. Sugar and Spikes have 10. So that's going to hit up and over this exact same set play as their last serve return. And this time the point will fall for Sugar and Spikes here to make it 6-11. The rain still is not letting up here in this one, as you can see it pelting. It's not exactly pelting down, but it's a pretty nice, decent rain here that these players are having to deal with. I'm not sure what the conversation is about on the court here. I can't even hear the sounds on the court here. The cameras are wet enough that the sound is all muddled. Feels like it's underwater. Sounds like, whatever you want to say. This Jack's going to send this thing high and over here. Oh, I can hear again. There we go. Hit over to Caleb. Up to Jada. Jada goes to Max. Max has to react to that one and does well to do so. Hit over into from the Sugar and Spikes team. Jada has time in the middle to get to it. She does, but it's going to get spiked over. Caleb is equal to it. Max now is going to find a good spot of sand there to make it 7-11 now. And that kind of score there, that kind of point, I should say, is exactly what the Sandy Nanners need here. Something with some emphasis to build some momentum for them. Once again, as that serve's going to fall into the net. 7-12. It's still a 5-point game here. Not sure if you remember what I was saying earlier when the Sugar and Spikes were out to their initial 5-0 lead. But something as simple as a 5-point run here could be the difference between winning and losing here, because now 7 points later from both teams, and it's still a, well, it was, I should say, but it was a 5-point difference here. Now, 5 points like that can be huge in the long run. Sandy Nanners just got to take it 1 point at a time here. Colin is up to serve. This time the point will go. The point will go to the Sandy Nanners. The serve will actually go over the net, which has not been the most common of feats for any of the Nanner squad members today. Over the net and inbounds, I should say. As Colin goes over to Jada. Jada tries to find Jack on that far side, and it will land into the sand there. And all of a sudden, we got a 2-point game on our hands here. Colin serving right now at this moment with the Nanners play overall has started to close the deficit and bring it back here. A hard serve, and then it's going to get well recovered. No, he just catches the ball. You can hear one of the women on the court saying, "Give us a chance." And I have to agree with him. I don't know why you'd catch that ball in that situation as Colin lands an ace to tie the game. What I was saying about a 5-point game, a 5-point swing really being able to change things, well, there you go. It was 7-12 like a minute ago, and then now all of a sudden we are tied up here in this one as Colin is still up to serve here, slapping that thing over. This is going to get played up over the block. Colin gets to it. Jack gets to it on the second touch. It's going to hit up over. Jada's going to go over now with a spike attempt. What is going on here? Over to Caleb. Caleb's going to hit it over. Caleb's up on his feet once again quickly, and Jada's going to hit it into the net. Oh, and that's a very disappointing loss of a point there from the Sandy Nanners here. First from Colin's dig to get to that one into the net, and then Jack to somehow send it up over the net. And then Caleb being quick on his feet there to get those 2 points. And that's a quick serve. Colin had just made his way back into the court, and Jada hits it against the net again. Basically pinning that thing into the net and catching it. And it's a 2-point lead for the Sugar and Spikes team again here, entering into the final third of this game. Colin has all of the time in the world to get under that one. Jada goes up to Jack. Jack gets some meat behind it, but it's going to get hit into the block. Colin gets a foot to it, and Caleb goes over and out of bounds. Oh, great touch there from Colin to give Caleb a chance. Jada redirecting that thing right into Colin's foot, but Caleb just simply couldn't keep it in bounds. That needed some miraculous reaction times from him there to keep that thing going. Goes over to Colin once again on the serve. Jada goes over to Jack, and it's going to fly over the net. Colin being quick to get to it. Max is going to hit it away, and it's a 4-point game now between these two. It has been all of a sudden in what has been two very... Well, the first game wasn't the closest in the world, but game 2 was very close. Game 3 has been the game of runs here. The Sugar and Spikes team getting off to a 7-0 run early on, if I remember right. Then all of a sudden the Sandy Nanners put on 5-0, and then now the Sugar and Spikes put 4-0 on Sandy Nanners. So let's see if the Nanners can come back with a sizable run of their own, with Jack up to serve here in this one. 13-16 being the score here. Let's see Porter running along the side there. Safety on for that serve. It's going to float up over into the middle here. Sugar and Spikes using all 3 hits. Jack not in the middle. Caleb's going to get a hit that one with the left hand, and the block is going to send it out of bounds here. 14-16. Still a 2-point deficit for the Nanners there. Serve is up. And it's going to be flying into the back there, well recovered. Over into, and it's going to fall out of bounds here. And remember what I was saying about the Sandy Nanners potentially putting on a little run of their own. They sure do appear to be doing so in this one. 15-16. Already 1 point away from a tie game after going down to a 4-0 run there in the last bit. And that serve's going to fly up over Max. Who was that? That was Colin, I do believe. Max took his headband off, and all of a sudden it's hard to tell the two apart. Both wearing cutoffs, both wearing no headbands, both with somewhat darkish hair. Max is a little bit on the reddish blonde side. But it's a 16-point tie here regardless. Jack's serve once again being hard over there into the back row this time. Caleb's going to bump that thing over into the middle. Oh, and it's just going to split between her 2 hands here. I'm not sure if that went off of her face or not. The conditions certainly playing a factor now with these two teams. We saw Jada have something happen earlier on where their set attempt just went straight through her fingers. Similar thing happening now for the Sugar and Spikes as that serve from Jack is going to land into the net there. The run was a little too sweet there, putting on, I do believe that was 4 or 5 points in a row for the Nanners to tie the game up at 17. 4 points away from victory for either squad here. Jada's going to go far side to Max. Max is going to slap it down and land the point for the Sandy Nanners there. Jada and Max have been working really well together so far today. And this has also been just an absolute legacy game from Jada. And heading into the tournament, that's exactly the kind of rebound that the Sandy Nanners needed. Having a couple of rough weeks consecutively, having a nice little strong performance there as the kick just doesn't land from Church there in the back row. And the Sandy Nanners are now 2 points away from victory, and it's a 2-point margin between these two teams here, with Jada up to serve here. If I had to guess and say this was going to be a high fly ball into the middle, went more to the right side than I was expecting. Jack does well to get to that one. Jada has to scramble there to get it. Colin does well to send it up over. It's a scramble to get back for the Nanners, and they do so. Max calms it down over to Jada, and Caleb sets it high. Give the Sandy Nanners as much time as possible to recover. Max doing well to get up to that one. Caleb sends it straight back over into on the back set. Jada goes over to Colin. Colin smacks it down, but he's going to wallop the net on the way, giving the point to Sugar and Spikes here in this one. That was a perfect kill attempt there off of Jada's set, but Colin just couldn't keep his hands out of the metaphorical cookie jar, if you will. And we are locked into a close one here, similar to game 2. After all the... Oh, and that's going to be a tie game at 19. After all the twists and turns that game 3 has taken here, we are tied at 19. Makes me think it's an appropriate time to mention winning by 2 once again in this one here. As the serve is going to be up and over. Caleb is the first to it. And Max just doesn't move to the ball. And the Sugar and Spikes are now 1 point away from victory here. It is no time for mistakes like that from the Sandy Nanners here. Let's see how they can recover here on the serve. Serve is going to be up and over. Max is going to call that one over to Colin. Colin's going to hit it far into the back row, and it's going to be well recovered by the Sugar and Spikes team. Goes over to Caleb. Caleb's going to find the back, but it's going to be well recovered. The spike attempt is going to get blocked up once again here. Colin's going to get down to send that thing over. Does well with it. It's going to hit into the net. It's going to hit into the net. It is 20-20 here in this one here. How many times can I say here in one sentence? We'll find out next on Dragon Ball Z. Who knows? Caleb up to serve. I couldn't imagine having a better member for the Sandy Nanners up to serve in crunch time here. Let's see what he can do in a 20-20 game, needing to score 2 points in a row here to win. Max is going to get up on that one and land the point right away for the Sandy Nanners. That's a good, quick point. Now they are 1 away from victory here and taking home all 4 points here in this one. Let's see how they can do it. But first, Caleb needs to get a serve that will land over on the other side of the net. What can he do here? All the pressure on him. He's going to go for a jump serve. Does well. Sends that thing over. It's going to get sent over now. Caleb is the first guy to it. Colin goes over with it. Set up for, I don't know his name, I'm sorry. Caleb has to scramble to get there again. Over to Max. Max spikes that thing down hard. It's well recovered. Jack now is going to land it. And that's going to be game 22-20 for the Sandy Nanners here to win the week 3-0. The first game was not the closest in the world, but the last 2 have been very solid games for both teams here. And for the Sandy Nanners running a 5-man squad tonight, a very strong performance from them here. And they, believe it or not, they have managed to clutch up the 1 seed heading into the tournament, which you will see next week. Thank you guys so much for watching the season so far. We'll see how the finale wraps up next week on JOSB SN here for Jacko the Soccer YouTube channel. Thank you guys for watching.